7-card stud is a very different game from Texas Hold'em. You should read my article at chippy.com for a complete explanation of this great game. Or you can read my book, Winning 7-Card Stud, for an even deeper dive. Here, in this video, I'm going to focus on the very basics. In stud, each player is dealt 7 cards with 5 betting rounds. The first, you have 2 cards down and 1 up, then followed by 3 up cards dealt 1 at a time, each followed by a betting round, and finally a 7th card that is dealt face down, followed by the 5th betting round. At Showdown, each player makes his best 5-card hand from his 7-card holding. There are no community cards. This difference in structure creates a very different strategy necessary to win at stud than one necessary to win at Hold'em. For one thing, position, while still important in stud, is not nearly as important as it is in Hold'em, as your position changes on each betting round based on the exposed cards that you have. When you initially try to decide whether to enter the hand, you are basing it on the hand you hold and the exposed cards you see, considering not at all your position relative to the dealer. Rather, you are concerned with the relative strength of your hand when compared to the likely hand of your opponent based on their exposed cards, the remaining exposed cards of other players, and the cards that have been folded. Here's a simple example of that. Suppose you're dealt a pair of jacks with an ace kicker. Typically, players want to raise with premium pairs, like a pair of jacks, as they generally tend to be the best 3-card hands that are dealt. However, in this instance, you see the following up cards around the table, starting from your left. King of diamonds, ace of clubs, ace of hearts, jack of clubs, queen of diamonds, deuce of clubs, 8 of spades. In stud, the lowest card showing brings in the betting. So in this instance, the deuce of clubs starts the bet with the bring in. The 8 of spades that follows folds, and now it's up to you to act. What do you do? As mentioned earlier, you might consider raising, as in a vacuum, knowing nothing else, your 2 jacks with an ace kicker looks like a pretty good starting hand, worthy of a raise. If you were playing Hold'em, in fact, and just had 2 jacks, you might well raise the pot, considering your position, of course. But in this instance, you have to look around the table and judge your hand based on what you see. What do you see? You see that 1 of your jacks and 2 of the aces you need to improve are in front of someone else, making your hand marginal. You also see that 1 player is sitting with a king and another with a queen. If either have pairs, your hand is a terrible holding. While it's probably playing too tightly for you to fold in this instance, you almost surely don't want to raise, risking a re-raise from the king or the queen if they have a pair. It is probably best to call and hope that they have nothing and fold, leaving you against players who are less likely to be ahead of you. Compare that situation with the following hand. You start with the same holding of jack of spades, ace of clubs in the hole, and a jack of clubs up, pair of jacks with an ace kicker. But in this instance, you look around the table and you see the following: 6 of spades, 6 of clubs, 4 of diamonds, 9 of diamonds, 7 of clubs, 10 of clubs, and the deuce of diamonds. In this instance, with those exposed cards around the table, you would surely want to raise. Your hand is live, meaning the 5 cards that will help you improve are still unseen, meaning you have a fairly good chance of having one dealt to you, as opposed to the earlier example, where many of them were already out. Second, you have what is likely the best hand, with no exposed cards higher than your jack, meaning that it's unlikely that somebody has a pair of queens, a pair of kings, or a pair of aces. As you can see, the exposed cards add a strategic consideration you don't have in Hold'em. Here are a few other strategy tips that should guide your play in a stud game. Your playable hands are generally limited to high pairs, low and medium pairs with an ace or king kicker, 3 cards all of the same suit, 3 flushes in other words, and 3 straights, 3 cards all in sequence, like 8, 9, 10. But you're not going to play all of those 3 flushes and 3 straights. They need to be hands that are live. If more than 2 of your suit or 2 of the cards you need for a straight are out, exposed in front of other people, you will fold your flush and straight draws. If those low and medium pairs with an ace or king kicker are not live, meaning that there is more than 1 card that improves them that is already out, you'll fold them to a bet as well. On 4th Street, which is the second round of betting, and 5th Street, the third round of betting, you will tend to continue to be aggressive if you believe you are in the lead. Don't continue with your draws unless your cards are live and you believe you are drawing to the strongest hand. In other words, avoid the possibility of drawing dead. This is especially true on 5th Street when the limits double. If you're drawing for a straight and you see one person drawing for a flush and somebody bets, you should probably fold. On the river, the last round of betting, perhaps the most important piece of advice for stud is to tend to call even if you think your chances of winning are relatively thin. Typically, in a limit game, as stud is, with 5 betting rounds, as stud has, the pot will be so large at this point that you will be getting huge pot odds for your call on the river. Keep in mind that a mistaken call is a single bet mistake, but a mistaken fold on the river can be a 10 or more bet error. In stud, make small errors on the river, not big errors, and you'll improve your winning chances overall.